Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's panel on generative AI-driven design and brand innovation. I'm Zhi, founder of NYCxDESIGN, and I'm very honored to be your moderator this evening. We are here with a group of pioneers applying generative AI across industries, ranging from immersive media and healthcare to creative marketing and spatial design. We aim to explore how generative AI transforms the design process, elevates brand identity, and enables human-centered experiences. A brief introduction to myself and my company, NYCxDESIGN. At NYCxDESIGN, we are building an AI-powered platform that helps anyone design and bring spatial ideas to life. We started with virtual staging and are now expanding into AI-driven spatial reimagination, making spatial design and transformation faster, more accessible, and more intuitive for everyone. Before founding the company, I worked as an architect at Parkinson Well, the second largest architecture firm in the US, a researcher at the Harvard Kennedy School Ash Center, and served as academic advisor for the Harvard China Forum. I'm excited to guide tonight's conversation and explore how generative AI is reshaping design and storytelling across industries. Let's warmly welcome our incredible panelists tonight. Brock Doubles, a Fulbright scholar and founder of QCQ.ai, backed by NIH, NSF, and Intel. He has delivered enterprise AI solutions for Amazon, Bank of America, and more. His current work focuses on elder care, using AI and human-centered design to improve care quality and billing systems. Will Salvis, immersive director and founder of Rendered Media. He specializes in 3D animation, VFX, VR, and generative AI, creating award-winning work for Nike, Meta, Microsoft, and OpenAI. Will's storytelling blends cutting-edge tech with themes of cultural memory and belongings. Jia Jianmin, a new media artist and architect, and the co-founder of NYCstudio, a Boston-based experimental design group. He chaired the 2025 MIT AI Filmmaking Hackathon and was formerly a project lead at Harvard CamLab. His work merges art, tech, and performance to promote cultural exchange. Ran Zhang, a lead graphics AI researcher at Tencent North America, where he leads the generative graphic groups. He focuses on AI-driven tools for filmmaking and immersive 3D experiences. Kun Liu, founder of AidLab and Photology, a generative AI platform known as the Midjourney for e-commerce. He was CIO at a public interior design firm and co-initiated the Tencent Cloud AIGC Design Joint Lab. All right, so tonight's discussion will focus on how generative AI is reshaping the worlds of design and art, while also exploring real-world applications that enhance brand value and user experiences. We will begin with a series of 15-minute interviews with each of our panelists, followed by a roundtable discussion with the full group. Let's kick things off with our first session, a conversation with Brock Doubles on becoming better humans, human-centered system design in the age of AI. Welcome, Brock.
Hi, George. Good to be with you again.
Brock, such a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Let's start with the fundamental theme before we dive into AI tools and frameworks. Let's take a moment to reflect on what makes us human. So from your behavioral science perspective, what does it mean to be an intelligent human in the age of AI? And how do you see human intelligence evolving in tandem with technological progress?
Well, let me ask you a quick question, George.
Sure.
We like to think of ourselves as rational actors, right?
Yeah.
That we plan, predict, and follow through. But I know you're going to laugh here, but in your experience with product teams and product design, do people usually show up with clear goals and stick to them?
Mm-hmm.
So we'd like to think that we're this rational, intelligent species, right? But for me, the a whole idea of Homo sapiens sapiens, that is a being with wisdom, it seems like that's kind of a myth because
Mhm.
the reality is that we improvise,
Yeah.
we change our minds, and oftentimes we leap before we look. And I've come to think of us not really as Homo haphazardous, or Homo sapiens sapiens so much as Homo haphazardous, which is we kind of we try things, we abandon them, we discover what we meant after we've already done it, and then we
Hmm.
look back and say, "Yeah, I meant that." Have you ever had any experience where you've said, "Well, maybe that's a feature, not a flaw"?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then you,
all the way from building this startup.
what are some of the things that you found which were just really surprising to you in your own experience?
I mean, for your like a powerful framing that answer in this philosophical grounded way, I mean, layering technology, I think, as last time we discussed the concept of complementary intelligence, to describe AI's role. In Eden style, I think, how to build a model that can both be consistent and variations to, tailor to more people's needs is something I'm thinking of.
Yeah. And the key is when we think of ourselves, and I say Homo haphazardous, I'm not saying that we aren't smart, we aren't special, and I'm just saying that we're more improvisational, emotional, and playful.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really one of the great things about us.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that makes us different from AI is, and here's the turn, if that's how we work, nonlinear, messy, and leaping,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of intelligence are we building beside
Yeah.
us? Because AI doesn't leap. And I
Yeah.
think one of the keys to a human being is that we make these amazing leaps from this moment of some knowledge and some experience and a little bit of experimentation. Then all of a sudden we find ourselves in another land and say, wow, this isn't what I expected. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of comes in where we're tinkering a little bit and we find something that might have been a flaw initially. And we say, this could really be a feature. I'm really enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
When we're going through your website and looking at some of the things that you can do there, we were kind of having a good time talking about some of the potential and playful stuff that
Yeah. Yeah.
you're doing.
Exactly.
Anything that came out when you were doing that that said, "Oh, this is actually kind of fun. I think I'm going to bring this forward."
Yeah, I mean, speaking of this kind of playful early stage innovation, I think sort of back on the topic of the complementary intelligence is like how to like understand the complementary between the AI and the human cognition, like how to guide a model that uh, foster the user experiences, make them to
Mhm.
boost their curiosity. That's something I think is quite vital in this kind of product development. Maybe could you
Yeah,
elaborate on more like what this means as complementary intelligence and how it diverges from the narrative that AI replaces humans?
I think that's a great thing to bring up. So our brains are asymmetric. We have the left hemisphere, which is language, logic, and sequence.
Hmm.
And oftentimes it said, can you see the forest for the tree? Well, the left side sees the tree. It
Hmm.
breaks it down and it can go very deeply analytically and reductively to seeing the tree.
Hmm.
The right hemisphere, um, that's kind of like our live feed. It's our motions, it's the context, it's metaphor, it's connection. It feels the forest. And oftentimes we're switching back and forth between the forest and the tree, and that parallel processing is very powerful for us.
Hmm.
Um, and what we call the asymmetric experience makes us very powerful in the way that we process problems, how we see the world. And the thing about it is we do it imperfectly.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, what we're doing when we're looking at future tense is that we're guessing. We reflect, we experiment, we play. It's our natural inclination towards learning, which is play. Um, and the thing about the complementary intelligence or AI, and I consider AI alien intelligence, I want to just take you back to that metaphor and say, imagine you're in a forest and you're a designer, and each initial state of every tree, it's different species. Maybe it's maple, maybe it's oak, maybe it's chestnut, maybe it's birch. And there are all different collections of these trees.
Mm-hmm.
Each tree has a different tone or initial state. And you decide, I wonder what would happen if I changed the light saturation on each one. How would it change the color of that tree?
Yeah.
So we say, I'm going to do that by 17% across the forest, and it should affect every tree differently.
Mm-hmm.
And with AI, we can do that. In fact, we can do that and we can step back and see the network effect now on the forest.
Mm-hmm.
And what AI does is it provides this kind of cognitive ratcheting where I can actually have an idea and I can ask AI to hold it in place to kind of create a cognitive ratchet. And I can say, change this like this. And then I can see the larger effect. And I can do these little experiments
Mm-hmm.
and I can utilize both my right hemisphere, my left hemisphere, and that parallel processing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can use it to experiment in ways that AI works almost as a prosthetic or distributed attention intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows me to do things that I never could have done. And the important thing here is that it does something that the human mind doesn't do. And that is, it's a lattice. It holds things in place. It's statistical. It's predictive. We are
Mm-hmm.
predictive as well, but we're not very good statistical thinkers.
Yeah.
So AI doesn't, um, AI is in many ways allows us to shift perception. It allows us to explore. It allows us to discover. And in some cases, we can share it. And the cool thing about it is we can just hit Control Z if it's wrong and go back to where we were and then try another question.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can save what we did offline and say, okay, this was interesting with experiment one.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do all this at once. And you've got all these nodes and edges in this wonderful data set. And it's just different. And that's why I call it an alien intelligence.
Got
And
it. Got it.
what it does is it kind of holds us in place with a lattice of our perception and all of the data that we're considering and doing things that one person or even 100 might never have been able to do.
Mm-hmm. That's such a thoughtful distinction. It reframes the conversation entirely. So, I mean, now that we understand the complementarity between AI and human cognition, as you said, maybe I want to bring us into the realm of system design. In your work, you've advocated for a shift in how machines learn from people. Specifically, I'd love for you to expand on the inverted reinforcement learning. How does this framework center human in the AI learning loop?
So, in some ways, if we're the ones who leap, and if AI's job is to hold the lattice, what reinforcement, inverted reinforcement learning does is rather than trying to solve for the goal, what it's trying to do is learn what we're looking for to infer the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And inverted reinforcement learning is looking at what we're doing to understand why we're doing it and what we're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
And in that way, it's kind of like a reciprocal apprenticeship where it's learning from us, but we're also learning from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just doing a deep dive into some current research on how people interact with the natural language processing.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever noticed how people change how they talk when they're in voice mode with an AI such as Siri or
Mm-hmm.
the Amazon equivalent?
Yep.
They adapt oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
and they'll change their voice. Amazon has even said, oh, over time, interactions uh, with these machines have made people in some cases much more polite and in
Mm-hmm.
some cases much more direct and demanding. So when it's the children talking, in order to reinforce polite behavior, the idea of how about the magic word for please? and introducing these concepts to children because they know through repetition those behaviors become embedded and they become repeated and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes who the person is.
Yep.
And this kind of gets to the whole idea of how do we design for the types of interactions for the people that we want to become, and how do we work with the AI in order to help us become our best person
Mm-hmm.
and in some ways make it most helpful to us.
Yeah.
So in inverted reinforcement learning, what we're doing is asking it to look at our behavior and say, I wonder what the goal he's trying to achieve is,
Mm-hmm.
and how do I help him reach that? And that retains the objective with the human. So
Got
the
it.
AI doesn't have the objective, the human has the objective. And that's also a safety valve for us.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. Turning the model inside out, so to speak. So let's
Yeah.
now zoom in on the principle you've emphasized across your career, designing for curiosity. When we speak about human-centered system, curiosity become a key feature. So could you walk us through what you call a humanity check and maybe share how that idea shaped your work at Amazon?
Sure. So there are really four features. Presence, and that's how we show up in the interaction,
Mm-hmm.
physically, symbolically, or intentionally. It includes awareness of the other and the shared context. It supports social cognition, theory of mind, and intentional alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So when we interact with people, we have this whole right side network that activates when we know that we're talking to another person. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't activate as much when we're talking to a machine.
Yeah.
But when we're using the complementary machine, we might be saying, oh, I really want to share this because we're getting into this natural inclination to play. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, at Amazon, we would say, what if they walked by that mirror and then they saw themselves wearing a big, crazy hat?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if we want them to learn about our sale items in our Wi Fi enabled um, clothing hangers and to know that if there's a red box, it's on sale? Well,
Yeah.
let's put a big red box on a pedestal with question marks on it so they begin to ask when they walk in, what's with the red box?
Mm-hmm.
And they might look for themselves to find out, or one of our associates can help them.
Yeah.
So when we tap into curiosity, we're tapping into people's natural inclination to play, which is explore, discover, and share.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the interesting or the fun pieces is the year that we came out with that, we did win Best Collaboration with Social Influencers, and we won
Mm-hmm.
Best Modern Retail Experience.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is also in the humanity check-in. So, am I present in this? Um, am I here anonymously, or do I have a reputation at stake? And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes we find the reputation is important, but we have to provide the safety so that people can be playful.
Yeah.
Uh,
Incredible.
mindfulness, mindfulness, which is to support our capacity for metacognition and reflection, like how it affects others, and then identity, supporting developmental learning. And we didn't really gamify empathy through this. We created space for people to play as exploration, discovery, and sharing. And
Mm-hmm.
it was really fascinating watching people interact with what we designed in a space and the items that we were selling and how much they took to it. And in
Nice.
that case, we designed for curiosity. How do we activate somebody
Mm-hmm.
so that they want to share it?
Got it. Yeah, designing for curiosity seems to go beyond the interface. It's about the experience design. Sort of building on that, let's maybe talk about outcomes. I'd love for you to share any observation about how generative models behave in real world deployment. What have you seen around concepts like hallucination, play, and less fine tuning, leading more variations versus better consistency?
Well, some of the interesting, one of the things that you just mentioned, which is hallucination, and humans hallucinate too.
Yep.
In fact, oftentimes it's what makes us the most creative. It's
Mm-hmm.
our natural ability to create a world different from the world that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And AI just does it differently. And in some cases, it's just not giving us what we ask. but maybe sometimes what it's giving us is interesting also.
Yep.
You might remember some of the early AI picture recommendations where they were looking for dogs and they found dogs in everything, just
Mhm.
hundreds of dogs in these pictures. And I thought, that's actually kind of cool. I think I'd like to play with that a little bit.
Yeah, I
And I
remember
think,
those, early stage GAN, the GAN.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
so
I think
go ahead.
just so with outcomes, using the virtual try-on, vir creating an ensemble builder, we were actually able to improve um, conversion by about 16%. And that was based upon looking at how people reacted walking from into our store into the changing room. And
Hmm.
then once they got into the changing room, there was a 65% likelihood that they would um, buy a product or buy something before they left.
Yep.
And I started taking some of this and I thought, well, this is kind of what I've been doing my entire life, which is using automation so that a novice who has no prior knowledge can use our system and perform like an expert. And
Hmm.
if they keep using it, they will become that expert because through progressive disclosure, they will gain the knowledge, gain the experience that the subject matter domain has to offer.
Hmm.
Eventually, what we've offloaded, we've loaded back onto the user, and now they have more experience and ask for more choice, where
Hmm.
we may give them more options to make decisions and see things that are creative and not necessarily haphazard, but experimental.
Got it. Thanks for those insights. Before we wrap up your session, I'd be remiss not to mention that you are writing a new book. Could you give us a sneak peek into what Design for Curiosity will explore?
Well, it's more than metrics. It's really about, in a lot of ways, it's about my design experiences over the last 10 years.
Hmm.
It's about my experience with AI. It's also about my experience designing for people in
Hmm.
physical spaces. And it's basically curiosity is not a trait. It's a designable outcome with methods to activate exploration, reflection, and sharing.
Hmm.
And interestingly enough, this level of engagement is really good for healthcare. It's really good for retail.
Hmm.
It's very good for many of the applications that we want people to use.
Hmm.
It's fantastic for education and learning.
Nice.
And the thing that I want to bring out in the book is are the key activation tactics, such as how to invite exploration, such as partial reveals, open
Hmm.
loops, layered affordances, introducing strategic friction, slowing users down with ambiguity, surprise, or nonlinear flows,
Yep.
surprise through patterns, break expectations with juxtaposition, remix, or cross-category logic. I
Hmm.
know those are a lot of uh, kind of jargony words, but um,
So many concepts.
there are a lot of concepts, and the idea is that there are practical ways for people to integrate into their design experience, how they might like to have people to say, "Oh, wow, that's cool," and make it their own. And it enables people to self-project, see themselves differently,
Hmm.
and maybe even take some of that as part of who they are in the
Hmm.
future.
Nice.
We can, yeah,
That sounds
and
like a brilliant, timely project.
yeah, it's I hope people enjoy it. And if they, but I appreciate you bringing it up. But if there's anybody out there who wants to publish this book, let me know.
No, I encourage everyone to. Buy the book when you publish.
That's right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you again,
Yeah, and
Brock. Yeah.
sure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Now, let's shift our focus to the intersection of AI, immersive media, and cultural storytelling. Welcome our second panelist, Will Salvis. Hello, Will. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Hey George, thank you for having me today. Super excited to be here with everyone, and yeah.
Mhm. Your portfolio beautifully showcases how generative AI can be used as a medium of expression that's not only visually striking, but also culturally resonant. I'd love for you to start by giving us a brief introduction to Protopika with Zora. So feel free to share your screen if that helps.
Perfect. I'm just making sure you can see my screen from there.
We can see it.
Perfect. So hi everyone, my name is Will Selvies. Here by myself, but I usually collaborate with Manuel Sensili, who's another brilliant mind behind Protopika, as George mentioned. And Protopika is really a project that we started together. We both have a background in computer science and creative arts, so we always joke around that we're very creative computer scientists, or very scientific artists. So we were sitting at the between the intersection of these two fields. I have more of a background working, as you mentioned, with creative technologies like VR, augmented reality, and emerging like spatial computing and so on since 2012. More recently, in the past 10 years, worked with Nike, Meta, NBA, mostly executing campaigns and kind of providing my expertise. And in the past 4 years, worked a lot in brain computing interfaces, how it intersects with artificial intelligence, especially when it comes to storytelling and so on. And Manuel Saint Cili is from Guadeloupe, and a French island in the Caribbean. So we share a Caribbean background, and we came and joined forces. Again, he taught the first um, at masterclass.com course on generative AI. So we both share a passion for teaching and workshops and so on. And also, that's how Protopika was sort of born. I'll take you through a little bit of a journey here real quickly, but we'll dive into the questions afterwards. But really, what sparked this project was the idea of the fragility of a culture. And this is back when Bora Senior was the last person who was fluent on Andaman Island, specifically a language that was traces back, or a culture that traces back 65 years, 65,000 years ago, and how a culture can die from the last survival of that culture. And really, we were thinking about, what are the benefits of having the internet, having artificial intelligence, or these technologies that help us archive culture from a different perspective, especially when you include things like climate, political disputes, all these sort of topics. And we are thinking about the fact that every 2 weeks a language was disappearing. And this is a similar example to what I just mentioned. So that statistic, every 2 weeks a new language or a different dialect, sorry, is disappearing, got us to think about the distribution of these languages, the importance, and also the biases that exist when there's different models being trained. Where are these models being hosted? What country is pushing this narrative, and what are the biases if they're only trained in English or specific like major language? So, for example, Manu speaks Creole, more specifically Guadeloupean Creole. There is an overlap with Haitian Creole, which is more widely spoken. And again, Creole being a language that's an amalgamation of different languages, whether it's African tongues with French and Spanish and so on. It's not quite the same across the board for all the islands, but he has had his own experience with ChatGPT and different LLMs that only are trained in Haitian Creole and so on. So we've had a lot of fun, whether it's speaking at TEDx's or different Ivy Leagues or schools, universities, seeing how other people have had similar experiences with artificial intelligence, which sparked this idea of like, okay, what if we have this Svalbard seed bowl equivalent, but for cultures using artificial intelligence? So one of the things that we're thinking about was how do we help create a standard for people to be able to document and archive culture in a way that artificial intelligence can then be authentically trained, like essentially data sets that can be the seeds for those cultures within a model or AI and so on. So we've been doing that ourselves as creatives, and I'll touch a little bit on other things in a second here. But that's just a little bit of an introduction of Protopika, how to use things like nerves and cultural preservation, found footage, and so on to document places that no longer exist. And I'll leave it at that for now. There's a little bit of a film that maybe I'll share with you if we have time, but I'll pass it on to you.
Awesome. Let's dive deeper into the value behind the visuals. So in your immersive and cross-cultural work, especially with the Protopika, how do you ensure AI-generated content remains culturally respectful and emotional resonant? As AI become a tool for storytelling, how do you ensure it doesn't dilute or distort the narrative it helps to create?
Yeah, of course. Well, one of the things that we really care about with these tools is, we think of AI as a large blanket that we can apply towards, the fabric of society, and
Hmm.
really the implications and the importance of it can really be seen at a very granular level from a community standpoint. So,
Hmm.
for example, when we were asked by OpenAI to alpha test Sora, a year before it came out, we created this film with them that we wanted to make sure that had all these elements of storytelling, but really showed we wanted to create a blueprint that showed people, hey, if two people can create a film like this from their house, what would be the implications for a 16-year-old that's in a different part of the world that's very inaccessible to film,
Hmm.
that may have access to an LLM that's open source and so on. So that's been always the case for Protopia. It's a more of an experiment for us to show people these are the implications of these technologies, and not always are this doom and gloom and daunting futures that we can think of, but more
Hmm.
so a protopic future, or a proactively work towards something that could yield positive outcomes. So um, again, we think of this as a tool for for communication for voices that haven't been heard before, for that same
Hmm.
reason of accessibility. And we were thinking a lot about how Afro-Caribbean and Latin culture, especially through language barriers, can merge and combine. Because Manu and I, our common language is English, but his native tongue is French, mine is Spanish.
Hmm.
And through this project, we've had our own lived experiences of how there's so many similarities between our cultures, yet language is one thing that divides us. So we have a lot of hope that AI is one of those tools that can, keep things emotionally resonant, culturally respectful, obviously through frameworks like making sure that we understand the biases of these models that are being trained, whether it's LLMs or image models, and really understanding that we have a say in standardizing that or creating our own solutions that
Hmm.
represent our culture more accurately.
That's give us a meaningful entry point. Now, as someone who works with emerging tech, you've probably encountered both the beauty and the blind spots in AI generative content. Have you seen specific biases, as you mentioned earlier, whether visual or textual surface in your work, and how do you actively mitigate them in your creative process?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's no secret that like whenever you try to prompt in any vocation or profession, and you just type it, it gives you a specific consistent result for some models, and that's one easy way of like red teaming it or seeing what could be an outcome for if you type in doctor, like what's the usual like ethnic
Hmm.
description or visual description of this subject, if it's a bias in that way. But for us, we tested also in our culture, like I mentioned, like it's so specific that a lot of the time we find ourselves working, whether it's at OpenAI or Meta or so on,
Hmm.
when they're alpha testing these tools to make sure that there is a broad spectrum of cultural representation, at least for what we can speak on. I think that's an important role that everyone can play within their communities or within their culture. That even just by flagging certain things, like a lot of models have ways, sorry, of like passively reporting if something is accurately or represented or not. I was recently having a conversation with Adobe where that's something that they really push. You try tools like Firefly and you prompt it to say astronaut, and you get results, not just from like the ethnic representation, but also the diverse different interpretation of that career path of that thing
Hmm.
that entails. So for us, there's many layers to it. Especially, I work a lot in education, so I've worked with very young groups, and how those tools are introduced to them is very important. Especially when you're able to prompt something, and the image that you get, it can be very biased and
Hmm.
steer the conversation in a specific direction from an early age. But I'd say, yeah, like I mentioned, like Guadalupe and Creole not really being there, and how our having that conversation has now influenced from more moral models to have that within them, their languages that can be included.
Yep.
Um, and again, it's a group effort.
Hmm.
It's something that I think the more people become aware of the sort of influence that we can have, the more that models can be trained in specific parts of the world, and even delegations from countries can have more of a emphasis on, okay, maybe we should start digitizing and archiving our own models are
Hmm.
trained
Hmm.
by us, and like different organizations, whether it's UNESCO or so on, can be participating in those sort of initiatives. But yeah.
Hmm. Well said. This ties into something we think a lot about at Eden Sign. Yesterday I had a conversation with a senior engineer at Adobe Firefly. So it's sort of looking retrospectively. I use Firefly all the time. So how to design with intention when your model carry bandage. Building on that, let's pivot into something more constructive. What are some of the creative strategies you use? Like you said, the prompt engineering, iterative workflows, or feedback loops to shape more personal, inclusive, emotional, and authentic results.
Yeah, of course. Again, we have different workflows for different things. Like we were talking about earlier, like the film that we made with OpenAI, which I'll just play in the background without sound so we can keep talking.
Hmm.
But there's just an example of like, just to go back to your question, we employ all kinds of, image to video, text to video. We try to get as creative as possible with our, you know, um, way of telling stories, but really at the center of it is how do we keep it human centered, right? Like how do we keep these stories really what they are, not letting
Hmm.
the technology take away from the agency that we have as creatives, as humans, as storytellers, but rather make it serve us. And that from the beginning, but even before we worked with OpenAI on this this film which was released with the research paper for Sora,
Hmm.
we were very much aware that when and what we use AI for was just as important as you know the message itself. So like if
Hmm.
we were really trying to tell a story, but we were including ChatGPT before we even got to the nitty gritty of coming up with everything ourselves, and then using it to elevate, the writing or things that we weren't as strong, departments that weren't as strong in our creative process, we were aware that we were augmenting exactly what we're putting in. So one rule that we have is that you can't cheat the 10,000 hours.
Hmm.
If you really want to get good at this sort of fields, like AI is not just going to fast track you to make the next Oscar award winning film. You still need to put in the 10,000 hours in learning filmmaking, learning 3D animation, VFX, all those sort of things. And then obviously AI adds layers of things
Hmm.
that can help. um, but yeah, like in terms of tools that we use, one of the most recent one I talked recently about, EEG, or brainwave technology. So essentially, technologies that can read your brainwaves and translate into other signals. So this is actually a project that we're working, Manu and I, as currently that we're showing in Barcelona in a few weeks. We were showing this at Vancouver International Film Festival last October. In this case, you wear the Muse headband, which is a meditation headband that detects different brain channels or brain waves in your mind, and is able to. We're able then to translate this into if someone is calm, if someone is stressed, and that sort of changes experience based on that. So in this case, this graphic that you're seeing is showing your state of mind
Hmm.
as you're watching the film. And then at the very end, we have real time stable diffusion or AI mirrors, or showing people like themselves and interact with that. So it's really like a very meditative experience that we found people were able to interact with the technology in a way that was more friendly or less daunting, as
Hmm.
we've seen. And it's because we really put emphasis on the storytelling. Again, if you watch this, there's a voiceover with AI, like an AI voiceover, which is depending on your state of mind, has different lines that it tells you, or has a slightly different ending for everyone. The
Hmm.
current iteration that we're working on is, oh, sorry, exited the presentation mode. The current iteration we're working on does more of a storyline that changes entirely based on your state of mind. So I think it gives you a picture of generative AI can really be a tool for storytelling, but also customizing storytelling for people to experience different storylines, or to even share different realities within this sort of universes.
Hmm.
And we get all kinds of comments with this. Like some people say, "Why would I want to have a siloed like experience where like what makes me excited about this medium is that we have a shared experience." And really, for us, is about having that exact conversation.
Hmm.
What happens when you have a Netflix account that, Black Mirror just released a TV show that has different scenes depending on what you get. You might get one scene or a different one, and that in itself is a topic of conversation. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, we're thinking of generative media and generative AI as it evolves very quickly as ways that we can share, yeah, like essentially,
Beautiful. Yeah.
be creative with it. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of building on your argument of the 10,000 hour, I think has to be like iteration rather than go through the repetitive process, you know. Before we close, I'd like to end on a personal note. You've built a practice that's deeply human yet technically advanced. What sort of guiding principle or mindset helps you navigate this balance of innovation and responsibility?
Well, definitely collaboration is a big one.
Mm-hmm,
Whether it's collaboration, human collaboration, or machine collaboration,
mm-hmm,
and that balance, like, you know, I think it's really important to have this, like, draw a line between what we're bouncing when we're bouncing ideas with a human collaborator, or we're bouncing ideas with a language model, mainly because there are biases that could be reinforced. So I found myself pulling back when it comes to using LLMs for the ideation process of
mm-hmm,
a lot of my ideas, and using it more to fulfill certain gaps.
mm-hmm,
Again, I've been using it for a long time now, and I feel like that's the general pattern that I'm seeing, that a lot of people are very intrigued by more creating more genuine connections with other minds, the human,
mm-hmm,
creativity, to be able to come up with different concepts. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's like drawing that line, like clear line, that hey, I can create biases based on this some models, is a big part of our process, that we make sure, that stays human centered and not taking away from our agency as creatives.
mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Will. Your work
Yeah.
gives us something to reflect on, especially as we think about AI as a partner in cultural storytelling. Thanks again.
Thank you for
Cool.
having me.
Yeah, so let's turn to our third session where we explore how AI intersects with art, technology, and multimedia in truly boundary pushing ways. Jiajin, welcome to the panel.
Hello, George. Yeah, thank you for the moderation, and also thank you, Brock and Will, for the very inspiring ideas on AI, cognitive science, creativity, and art. And actually, I'm also the co-founder of Harvard XR conference. So last month, I just met Manur at Harvard GSD, and he also shared some of the project Will mentioned today. So it's very great to meet Will again, like online.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so such a small world.
Yeah.
And so, hello everyone, my name is Jiaji. I'm the co-founder and director of NY Studio, an experimental media art group based in Boston and also in California. And so maybe first I will give a very brief introduction of our studio and some recent works we are working on. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So our studio, in our research and artworks, we weave together cultural heritage, multimedia experiences, and cognitive science. And we try to bring art and technology as well as history and the future together. So this is what we are mainly focuses. And next slides, please. And our works include multimedia performance, immersive experiences, interactive installation, digital humanity and cultural heritage, as well as AI film. And so, with the background of architecture, so we gradually merged, transit from physical world into like a digital world, trying to create experiences between the real world and the virtual world. And next slide, please. Yeah, and we have collaborated with a lot of cultural institutes and universities for research teaching, such as Harvard, MIT, as well as universities in China like Tsinghua, China Central Academy of Fine Arts. And our works have been featured at Venice Biennale, Ars Electronica, Lumen Prize, and as well as a lot of conference like CGRAPH, CVPR. And next slide, please. And one of our recent project we have been working on is is a project that's incubated by New Ink, which is a very famous pioneering cultural incubator initiated by New Museum of Contemporary Art in New York City. So our studio was selected last year as the one of the extended reality track member at New Ink, and our project was featured at the main page on the website. Next slide, please. Okay, sorry. I think the slides I sent to the organizer was in black background, so I actually have the white title, which right now you cannot see. But the project is called Embodied Ink. It's a multimedia interpretation of Chinese calligraphy through digital performance and interactive experiences. So next slide, please. The technological process, we try to merge motion capture, generative AI, and biometric feedback to bring the physical and the virtual realms of calligraphy. So as we see Chinese calligraphy, usually we enjoy it as a two-dimensional artwork because we usually see that as a on the paper as a medium in the gallery. But in reality, the creation process is a really immersive 3D. So we really want to bring this media back into the 3D realm and show the body motion as well as the emotion behind the medium. Yeah, next slide, please. And on the left side, you can see this is the analysis of one of the very famous Chinese character is Xie. So the Chinese calligraphy, if you zoom in, you can find a very interesting figure-ground relationship as well as the relationship between writing and painting, because writing in the Western world historically is not really regarded as a form of art. It's more like a form of information. But in Chinese culture, in the Chinese background, calligraphy, writing is really an important expression of the arts. So as you can see in this motion graphic, so we use real-time stream diffusion to translate the body motion into a kind of a visual between the dancer's body as well as a kind of calligraphy. So we train a large data of Chinese calligraphy and bring that into the interactive experiences. We also use Emotivate to extract the biodata from the dancer, so which will also influence the interactive visual. So in the multimedia performance, it's more like the real dancer are dancing with the virtual dancer, which are transiting between a dancer and the calligraphy. You really cannot tell which is the body, which is the artwork. Yeah. And next slide, please. Okay, and yeah, so that work is also going to be featured at CVPR AI Art Gallery in June in Nashville. So if anyone is going to Nashville for the CVPR conference, also welcome to enjoy this work. And so for our studio, we really focuses on, so it's called NY Studio. It's actually an abbreviation of my last name and also my partner's last name, M and Y. My name is Min Jiajian. It's also representing like metaverse, mind and body, multimedia, multisensory, multimodality, multidimensional, and multidiscipline. So we really want to break the boundary of traditional artworks, and we want to connect with different cultural institutes, museums, scientists, artists, musicians to create more immersive experiences, like try to explore the future of storytelling. Yeah, thank you. This is just a short background of what we are doing for
That's
the
very
conversation.
inspiring. Yeah. Thanks for sharing the vision behind NYCstudio. Now let's zoom in on how AI fits into this vision. How do you personally incorporate AI into creative processes like space design, multimedia installations, or live performance to blur the boundary of those disciplines?
Yeah, so Actually, my background is not technology, so my background is architecture and design. And I see AI, first, I see it as a creative partner. So it really helps us to first raise of course, raise the efficiency of your working pipeline. We try to bring that into all kinds of pipeline for our artworks. But more importantly, we really recognize AI is not just a technology or medium. I think AI itself is a new media. So as a media artist, AI is a new media. It has its own logic, it has its own constraints, its own problems, and its own aesthetics. So if we look back on the history of art, like art history or the history of new media, the invention of all kinds of new technology, for example, photography, videography, film. In their early days, they are so usually in their early days, they are all very controversial, and they trying to, for example, photography killed portrait painting, and usually in the beginning, the artwork do not embrace it as an art form, but the pioneers they are trying to explore the new ways, the new expressions of this medium, its strengths, its issues, its problems, and some kind of new ways to play with the new media to create new kinds
Mm-hmm.
of aesthetics and
Mm-hmm.
new kinds of concepts. So we really see AI as so on one hand, it's a very great creative partner for us to work together. On the other hand, conceptually, we see AI as a theme, as a topic, as a new media that we really want to dive deep to see what's the a new form we can create with it, what kind of new experience we can create
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with AI, the kind of distortion, the kind of abstraction, the unpredictability of AI. So these sometimes they are flaws, sometimes they are issues, sometimes they are strengths. They are all the materials of the AI, materials and the starting point of our creation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I know you were also the committee chair of the MIT AI Film Hack, a very forward-looking experiment in media production. Could you tell us how generative AI models were used across different stages of film pipeline, from writing to editing? What worked? What was unexpectedly hard for different creators? Feel free to share any examples.
Yeah, yes. So this year is the third year of MIT AI Filmmaking Hackathon. This event was organized started in 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time, so I was the first winner with my teammates for
Mm-hmm.
the first MIT AI Filmmaking Hackathon. We won 5 awards: Best Film, Best Visual, Best Music, a lot of them, and it's a very great honor.
Mm-hmm.
And I on the second year, so 2024, I was one of the jury judges for the competition, and this year I'm the committee chair. And I think from these 3 years, I really witnessed how AI is revolutionizing the way people create film and like motion graphic. I remember in the first year, there's no runway, there's no Pika, and there's no mature video generation tool. We only have like stable diffusion, disco diffusion, Midjourney. We have Midjourney at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, as a creator, you have to build your own pipeline to generate AI motion graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So we use Google Colab to run code. We do frame to frame style transfer and put them together in Adobe Premiere. And we also use traditional like computer graphic tools like Cinema 4D to generate 3D from the 2D, and then use traditional like motion graphic ways to create AI film in the first year. In the second year, already the video generation tool are much more mature, and
Mm-hmm.
you have much more control on the camera, on the motion and this year in 2025, and there are much more tools you can use. So there, for example, for the there are special tools for script writing. There are special tools for video generation, tools for image creation, tools for music creation like Suno, and even all the editing platforms like CapCut, like Adobe Premiere. They all have their own AI features
Mm-hmm.
for post-production. So on the one hand, for beginners and for those who do not have a strong background on video making, filmmaking, it's much, much more easier for everyone to jump into the field and create their own short films, even for teenagers, like what Will mentioned. We also have classes for teenagers. They right now, if you are just like a high school student, if you have a very great idea, it's almost like a 1 or 2 days you can bring this to life, and it's not that hard. So this is a very important thing. A lot of people mention it's like a democratization
Mm-hmm.
for everyone, for the
Yep.
creators to
Yep.
create AI film. But on the other hand, we also find for professional creators, there are still a lot of problems with AI tools. For example, the facial expression and emotion behind the character is really, really hard to to control for professional filmmakers. You can create more general motion and motion, camera motions and also body motions. But if you want the character to express uh, a very, very specific facial expression, is still very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And also consistency of scenes, consistencies of characters are still very hard to control. So sometimes we encourage people to mix 2D pipeline with 3D pipeline, because with 3D pipeline you can control the camera and consistency of the scenes much more easier. So
Mm-hmm.
I think right now there's still no single solution for AI tools to achieve what we can achieve for traditional filmmaking. But with the creativity of all the AI filmmakers, we
Mm-hmm.
can use combination between traditional tools and AI tools. We can also uh, we can also have combinations between different AI tools to achieve what we want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, so give everyone a heads up. Actually, Jiajin and me share the similar background in the architecture training, both undergrad and graduate. And I was at Harvard and Jiajin was at Yale. So my personal question for the last question, at Eden Sign, the startup I'm building, we also think about space as a canvas that AI can help shape, sometimes in playful, sometimes in pragmatic ways. So given your experience across architecture, film, multimedia, and art, how do you think AI changes the grammar of storytelling in both the physical and digital space alike?
Uh, yeah, that's a good question. Uh, for my experiences, and I think first, uh, in this kind of we call extended reality,
Mm-hmm.
and so AI can so for extended reality experiences or film experiences, usually the experience is more linear narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And AI can help us create much more easier interactive
Yep.
experience and generative words. Also, I think this is kind of echoing what Will mentioned in his projects about using EEG and AI. So the film experiences is not only as what we experience as in the traditional cinema. You just
Mm-hmm.
sit there and watch the film, but the story can have an interaction with you, and AI can help us a lot here in terms of computer vision or LLM, large language model.
Mm-hmm.
And also for the performances, multimedia performances I'm working on, AI can also help to create real-time, for example, real-time virtual performer, which can interact with the traditional performer, like what we
Mm-hmm.
mentioned in the project at New Ink. And for the architecture, I think Also, I vision the future space is not just traditional like still space, but there can be a lot more interactive. Like there can be sensors, AI can help you to adjust the space, the temperature, the light, everything can be more interactive and more intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. That recalls me for your project at Harvard Chem Lab. Your work shows us how generative tools can enhance, not replace the human touch. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Up next, we are excited to welcome Ranzhang from Tencent North America as we dive into our next session. Ran, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. It's great to be here and discuss with you about AI, 3D AI, and also filmmaking.
Thank you. Look forward to it. So your leadership at Tencent Generative Graphic Groups is setting the standard in AI-driven 3D media. Let's begin with the pipeline. How is AI transforming the traditional 3D content pipeline, especially for interactive experiences like games, VR, or cinematic storytelling? Maybe can you give us an overview of what the generative workflow looks like today in your studio at Tencent?
Yes, so thank you for the question. So first of all, I think our ultimate goal, in Tencent video platform, our ultimate goal is to use AI to assist the artists and also the production teams, in a specific way that they create the high quality content. So in short, we make AI work in the filmmaking way, but not transforming filmmaking into the AI way, right? So you may already have heard many stories about using generative 3D models in games, in VR, in animation, or in commercial ads. But today, I think I would like to talk from another point of view. So in film and TV series production, purely 3D content like VFX is actually just a small part of the entire process. More critical tasks include designing storyboards, implementing set dressing, and also shooting the real footage. Now you might be wondering, are these processes also 3D? Are they technically enough for AI to help with? So my answer is yes, and that's what we are working on currently. So at Tencent, we are building a 3D AI-based previsualization and virtual production framework that's designed specifically for supporting production teams with set dressing, lighting design, cinematography planning, and also asset generation for virtual filming environments. So from a technical perspective, the set dressing becomes a problem of generating geometries, generating objects, and also the planning the object layout. So lighting design involves predicting accurate parameters for various light source like point light, spotlight, and also maybe the sunlight setups. So cinematography is about understanding and generating camera poses that fits the emotional and also the narrative goals of a scene. So we have already conducted deep research into solving these challenges using transformer and also different models. For example, we developed a system that converts a single image into a very high resolution pseudo 3D asset suitable for both previous and also final virtual production. Like you can project the high resolution 3D asset onto the LED as a background of the real actor. So according to the collaborating artists, the output of this asset is on par with the high-end assets they previously had to purchase. So, and these are already ready for production use, and we already delivered this to a few of TV series we're supporting at Tencent video platform. So another model we developed that predicts the high precision lighting setups that can be used both for animation production, like you can place your spotlight according to the AI help. And also it can be used for the real shooting of the footage, like in the set scene, you can, with the help of AI, you can design where to put the different light source. And all of these are generated from either a real photography. You can take a screenshot of maybe a very classic movie, or you can generate the input image with Midjourney, with Flags or other AI generated image models. Yeah, another exciting projects we are working on is the thing that I talked before, the cinematography. So we want to learn the camera style or the camera movements from real blockbusters. For example, we want to tell why Wonka with camera move feels very distinct, and how Dennis Villeneuve's design of the visual language of Dune. Yes, thanks to the recent advance in multimodal foundation models, we now have a chance to analyze and emulate such cinematic masterpiece at a scale. For example, we already learned a few of the camera moves from the classic movies. And it's entirely possible that maybe in the near future, I would say maybe in half a year, a film or maybe some of the TV series on a Tencent video platform, maybe 10% of the shots will be designed with AI's help. And that's already been a very big process for us. And in summary, we have seen the rise of larger language models like GPT and also Gemini. And another thing is we also see that the video generation models becomes very powerful recently. And essentially, these two modality or these two kinds of models, I will call them world models because it already cover maybe every piece of that modality already. But I believe the next frontier in world model evolution would be the 3D foundation model. So the 3D foundation model, I think it's not generating the 3D geometry, but it also helps us understanding space, understanding the context, and also even support the professional level filmmaking decisions. Yeah, I think this kind of answered your question. Yeah.
That's great perspective. Thank you. At Edenson, we found that working with spatial visuals often requires reconciling the technical precision with artistic flexibility, especially I think close to your area in film, game. So how do you balance innovation in generation with consistency in style and the narrative logic? And how do you handle the authorship and intellectual credit in a space where AI can actually generate 80% of the visual structures? What kind of practice have you adopted to ensure that designers still retain agency?
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's a very important problem in this AI-assisted content generation. So copyright is a very crucial issue in all of this area. And we place a high value on preserving the credit and authorship of the artists who work with us and also create content for Tencent video platform. So in our collaboration with production studios, actually we have a very specific contract with them that is specifying the copyright ownership. Even after the content has been produced and distributed, the contract is still active for this situation. So in most of the cases, the rights belongs to the studio or the producer, and in this scenario, actually, the producer is Tencent. So
Okay.
yeah, this ensures that the creative ownership remains within the team, and that leads to the production and regardless of the AI tools involved. And in the context of TV and animation production, the majority of the content is still kind of genuine work or the original work that created all by the team that internally. Probably for commercial ads or other area, they tends to use kind of combination like maybe download some content from others and do the combination later. But for TV series and animation production, most of the contents are kind of internally generated. So we usually only deal with copyright inside the team. So even when AI is used to assist with certain tasks, we consider the final result to be product of the production team. because they really make it happen. They really finally tuned it, and for example, the prompt or the initial idea comes from the studio and it comes from the artist. So we still see AI tools is still they are tools and solutions, but not the creative that come from. Yeah, so while AI plays a supporting role, it doesn't replace the human creative process. So I always say that the AI is helping people and it amplifies the people's ability, but not replacing the creativity. So we respect and protect the contributions of all the artists who are working with us. And I hope this answers part of your
Yeah,
questions.
I mean, it's still under discussion. I mean, I saw
Yeah.
like platform product like Fiverr, all the artists on the platform, all the copyrights still belong to the platform, as you said, belong to Tencent. So I'm not sure if that works in a major US context in a more decentralized way, but let's see. Yeah. Anyway, let's dive deeper into production.
Okay.
What are the most technically challenging parts of AI-driven 3D right now? Is it like mesh generation, real-time rendering, user customization, or something else entirely?
Yeah, I think I'd like to start with an interesting conversation I had with Guo Fan, the director of The Wanderers. So once at that time, I asked him what was the biggest challenge you faced when filming The Wanderers. So the answer is very interesting and it surprised me. So his answer is the hardest part was figuring out how to order lunch for over 1,000 crew members on set, right?
Interesting.
So, yeah, so it reflects one of the facts that one of the main challenges that we face in doing the filmmaking. So, so the thing is, the the filmmaking is a very long process, including the pre-production, on-stage production, and also the post-production. And it's very complicated and it's a collaborative process. For example, when you deal with maybe a modeler, a writer, or some artist in a single process, and they even you deliver a very good result for him, but he or she has to hand this to another group member for the following process. So if you just kind of provide a solution or that looks good at this moment, but it somehow breaks the whole pipeline or breaks the hands of process of their of their streamline. So in this case, it's not a plus. It's even a minus. So finally, the studio will say, I will not use this tool, but keep my traditional way of doing this. So yeah, so we have already talked to many of the studios, many of the writers, the modelers, and finally, I think in summary, I would say that there would be two key challenges. So the first one is you must deliver the production level quality. So unlike the yeah, so maybe it's not very fair, but yeah, I just say it. So unlike the in the game development, where iteration is very fast and sometimes good enough is acceptable, because in games you have to balance the quality and the rendering speed, and also maybe the AIGC part, the customized content for the users, right? And in film production, they are kind of moves slower than the game production, and they prioritize the quality above everything else. Like they can afford very high cost, and they can wait maybe an hour for rendering a frame in the final movie, but they value the quality very much. So the AI tools need to meet this very high end bar, and otherwise they won't use it. Yeah, for example, what I mentioned before, that we generate the pseudo 3D content for virtual production. So one of the key requirement they have is they need from 4K, 6K, or 8K texture. And I think currently there's no image generation models that can generate 8K texture
Yeah,
for those things. So
exactly.
that's where that's what we spend maybe a month for solving this problem. Yeah, and another challenge is every pipeline is different. So, so when we talk about AI-assisted filmmaking, maybe some of us think AI could be like infrastructure or something that supports different studios. But I have already visited many animation studios in China, and even when producing very similar content, each studio has its own very unique workflows and also tools.
Mm.
And there's no one size fits all solution that we just provide maybe one image generation tool and it works for every studio. No, it's not happening, at least currently. So
Got
this makes the integration to very specific pipeline or the customized process very important. So when we see these two challenges, actually we also see different solutions. So so in summary, I'll give maybe three ideas. So the first one is you can work on maybe the pipeline standardization. For example, currently Pixar and NVIDIA is kind of pushing the new standard called OpenUSD. So it kind of making a very universal, unified
3D
pipeline
file.
for
Yep.
for 3D file for making making every 3D design software working together like Maya, like Houdini also. Yeah, and this also happens for Unreal Engine. They are recently trying to push that you can render design and model do the modeling all in Unreal Engine. So finally, you don't need to deal with maybe human animation in Maya. You don't and also do the VFX in Houdini and combine them together in Nuke. So finally, I mean. Perhaps at some time, UE can do everything together. And the second solution would be we can say it's AI as a studio. So we say SaaS, we say this anything as a service. So here we propose something like AI as a studio. So there are some startups like Pinscreen. So they are generating they use AI to generating facial animations. But how the business how the business work is they kind of take maybe one shot or a few shots, and for each shot it's about 10 to 15 seconds, and finally they deliver the production ready shots, not only delivering the tools. So if they deliver the shot, they deliver the final result. So it's already very similar to the traditional pipeline. So the other team just take the final result, not taking maybe the intermediate 3D content or something.
Got it.
So it's very it's a seamless hands off to other teams. And the final solution is what we are working on. So we call it the co-development. So we work directly with studios and also artists to develop customized solutions for their real world projects. So so we try to integrate our AI techniques into their workflow and identify which part can be accelerated by AI and which part can use traditional techniques. So I think this is always a balance. And if you want to solve the problem in this way, you have to know you have to have the deep domain knowledge, and also it takes time. So you have to talk to your user, know your user, and really try everything, make your hands dirty. So it's a very long process, but we tried a few, and we think maybe this is a way for us because we cannot do the the standardization like Pixar, and we are not the ones that really want to start as a small studio. So we do it in the co-development way. So at the end of the day, I think still I think the thing is similar with other startups and other area is know your users and talk to your users, and also get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
That's very important. Yeah, I agree. I mean, at EdenSign, we also, from 2D, which we use the, diffusion models, like the new open model last October, the Flux has 12 billion parameter, which is pretty good, but it's still kind of a randomness when they generate something at the, production level. So also, the control net, API adapter, which those technology pretty mature, but how the 3D can be generated in a similar way is something I think more complicated at this moment. I know we are running out of time, but I do have a question I really want to ask. I just came up with because you mentioned Guo Fan's new movie 流浪地球三, and yesterday morning I wake up, saw a short video from Liu Cixin. He said he found that he only gave some outline to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can write better articles than him. So he feels so upset. So that brings us to tools. The final question I have is, do you foresee AI becoming more integrated in real-time workflows for designers, animators? So what would need to happen technologically for that to scale?
Yeah, so I think that there will be still be two aspects of these questions. So one, I still think one is quality, and the other one is speed, like real-time response. So I think for the quality, I think even Liu Cixin's side, yeah, maybe the GPT generated footage or GPT generated scripts is already better than his. So to my experience and to my collaboration with the studios, I think it's still kind of half-half. So maybe half of the results the scripter, the writer already satisfied with, and the other half we still need to work on it. I mean, it's not the writer that working on it, and also our technical part also need to fine-tune the model, and also maybe even set some magic parameters for that. So yeah, so here I'm always thinking about one key concept that Elias Scabar mentioned before. It's a super alignment. So his side in the kind of legacy AI models that human are the strong intelligence that we are teaching the maybe the weak intelligence like GPT like these large models. But currently in most to my experience in most of the area, maybe in my specific professional area, I'm still a strong intelligent, but in other area, I'm already a weak intelligent. So some of the time I cannot teach AI how to do those things. So yeah, so to answer the question about the quality, so I think if we somehow stay here and already satisfied with maybe the generated content, I think it's not the way that we are going. We need to find better writers. We need to talk to those better writers and teach the AI to be even better ones to generate really high quality contents that suitable for the real movies. Yeah, and regarding the speed, I think recently there's a lot of new techniques like the KV catch, like for different models, like this one-step or four-step different models. So recently, I heard that Tencent Hunyuan also yeah, they also have a new tool that generate images as soon as you type new word. Yeah, so I think technically this is more like an engineering product, and it's pretty mature that you can do the real-time image generation. But for 3D, I think it's still kind of gap. Yeah, because still, I think in 3D there are a few key problems. So first one would be I still think there's no that one working for all 3D representations. For example, when you do the generation, when you do the 3D diffusion, you are not working on mesh directly, right? So you are working on this SDF, you are working on this occupancy field. So these things is finally it generates a kind of 3D mesh or 3D content, but it's not the artist or the human see the 3D model, because artists they see how the mesh distributes and how the local retopo makes the mesh better. And for real for real user, that we don't care about mesh, but we care more about their appearance.
But
And
how about the Gaussian splatting, you know?
yeah. I think Gaussian splatting is also a very useful 3D representation. So let's say maybe mesh, the occupancy field, the Gaussian splatting would be maybe the three 3D representations. So my in my experience and my preference is goes to Gaussian splatting. But the thing is, Gaussian splatting still lacks the high resolution part.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, because if you just zoom in, maybe put on your 4K monitor, yeah, it looks like a trash. So yeah, but I think in the near future, Gaussian splatting or this, what I call should be the 3D foundation models. So I think 3D foundation models currently would go in the way of Gaussian splatting representation. So I think the 3D foundation models would get much better quality for that. And regarding the real-time response for 3D. So in this year, in CVPR, there's a very interesting paper, and I vote for it for the best paper on CVPR. So it's called VGGT from Meta and Oxford.
Please share that to our WeChat group so everyone can take a look.
Yeah, sure. So what it does is it kind of encode the image into we call the visual transformer into this latent space, and directly train transformer that transform this input image latent to some 3D concepts. For example, the multi-view correspondence. When you have the multi-view correspondence, you have 3D Gaussian. Yeah, finally you have 3D Gaussian. So this work is very phenomenal, I think. So it kind of marks that we are going to like the 3D wave foundation model that can generate those things in 1 second. Yeah, we tried it on many in the world data, like different movies, different, even you shoot in your real life, take a video. It's processed 1 or 2 frames in a second. You cannot even imagine that before. Maybe last year you do this maybe in half an hour. So I think when we go this way, and finally maybe in half an year or slightly longer, I think for 3D generation you already have very high quality real-time response. Yeah.
Thank you. Your insights are incredibly valuable, Ran. Thank you for helping us see the practical and the philosophical shifts AI is bringing to immersive content. With that, let's transition to our final interview of the evening. We are pleased to welcome Kun Liu from Phology. Kun, welcome.
Hello. You can just call me Leo.
Okay, Leo. Okay,
that's more simple. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. You are doing exciting work at the frontier of marketing automation with generative AI. So let's begin with fundamentals. What inspired you to build the Phology, and how does the AI platform enhance marketing content generation from brief to final creative? You can share screen to give us a quick intro if that helps.
Yeah, okay. Let me share my screen. You see? Yeah, this is what we are doing recently. You can see Phology, and we're building a real end-to-end smartest AI marketing team. And we built it maybe half year ago, and we were our benchmark was Devin at that time. We hope to build a whole AI marketing team from just inside from strategy and to the final the result deliver at the time we're thinking. For now, I think we're doing well, and we have maybe thousands of paid users. As for your first question, why marketing and what inspired us to do some marketing thing? Actually, I agree a lot about the former guests of their topics of their opinions. I joined the AI founding team, the AI startup team maybe 3 years ago in 2022. At that time, actually, I was studying. I was majoring in architecture.
Yeah, I know.
Also,
We are
yeah, in
similar.
yeah. And today I noticed a lot of maybe half of the guests are majoring in architecture. That's interesting. Yeah, in 2022, I was doing some AI things in the architecture area. But half year, maybe I tried for half a year, and I found it, maybe the need maybe is not so expensive. So we may did a lot of job, and several actually several not only the company but also maybe individual gonna pay for what we are doing. So the ROI maybe not so fancy.
Mm.
So we change our aspect into interior design, into the furniture retailer, and then into the marketing demand of the furniture retailer. And then we change our aspect, our the race into more retailers, more kind of retailers, such as the puppies, the puppy furniture, and also some home appliance, some also the brand now. And for recently, we're doing some work with LVMH. And Cardia, some luxury brands, because they pay more.
Yeah.
Actually. So another aspect is from the technique way. We start actually from it's so we start actually from this A-T. This is not open source, but we published it last year. In the beginning of last year, the text to image, the text to video. They have one thing is the consistency. That's everyone today is talking about, and the consistency between the real world item, like for example this bottle of perfume. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
this bottle of perfume, and how to show it in the generative image or video exactly. The 100% the currency. We just take it into two or three aspects. The first is the material. The material contains the letters, the small letters even on some real world item. The second is the structure, the shape. Third one is the light, the light control. You should make the generated image or video very maybe very natural. It's not like the first thing AI. So we were doing the pipeline to exactly show the material structure and the light control of the real world item. In the beginning of last year, we published A-T pipeline, and also we published several SOTA algorithm maybe or pipeline before, and the A-C is our maybe key technology. So we through multiple view, natural object view, and a lot of things, we realize the feature extraction of objects, geometrically information and material information. So combined with relightening, we got a relightening diffusion with cross attention. We achieve highly realistic image generation based on the real shape and material characteristics of the real world object. So based on this, you can see what we achieved last year. So last year, in the beginning of last year, we can you see these are all the real furniture of one of our formal cooperation partner. We can just show their furniture very normally and very we call it 100% current, but for now we see maybe it's only 60%. So and also there are some cases. These are for 1 year ago, 1 year ago, we accomplishes this, but it's also, I don't think for now, for the perspective of today, you will see it's maybe rough, but last year it was something. So based on this, we did a lot of more work in the picture and the video area, and mainly we focus on the consistency of the object of the real world item. So you can see what we have, and also there is the video. We also participate in the open source plan, and we mainly basic on the high quality and commercial grade video generation. So these two are the image mainly and the video generation. So for now, you can see this is what we did for one of our partner, and you can see we can these pictures are we generate for them maybe in half a day with one person, and you can see the details, and you can see the pictures. For the brand, their demand is a little different. Maybe for the creation part, if you're also maybe an artist or you are doing some creation job, you don't need to maybe you don't need to make it 100% perfect. But what we are doing is the marketing material and the marketing image and the marketing video. This for the marketing. So the brand, they're gonna pay. So before they pay, they're gonna check maybe several times with us of their consistency of their product. For this brand, this customer is an earphone customer, and you can see these pictures we have already published into in maybe Instagram also, and we just fake as some KOC, we just fake as as an ordinary person, but actually it's AI, it's AI generated. And there's also some, if you look carefully, you can see the girl, the throat is weird. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But as we see and as we just sustains, we just observe and follow. There are now comments that such as maybe is this AI generated or it is AI? No one just recognized. So that's our basic. That's maybe the basic requirement of the brand and of the requirement of the market. So we make it, and we are actually doing well. We have already published over 100,000 just social media posts.
Oh, wow.
For now.
Congratulations.
Right now. Yeah. So maybe a lot of them, even the customer or the ordinary person, when you just search Redbook or maybe Instagram, a lot of things, you don't think it's AI, but it's actually AI generated.
Yep.
And you can see the details, maybe like for this picture, and we the structure, the structure, the model, the fake model, the AI generated model, how she wear the earphone, and I don't know whether call it earphone is correct, and oh, sorry. Yeah, and the material of this, it's one of the specific material, and also if you use maybe Stable Diffusion or even GPT-4o cannot just 100% to show correctly of the material and the structure with the earphone and and her ear. So that's what we are doing, and it's a lot of something like from 95 to 99, maybe from the this kind of period. This is what we are doing, and what our team take a lot of time to solve.
Yeah.
In Chinese we call it the last mile.
Last
yeah,
mile, yeah.
last mile.
最后1公里, yeah.
Yeah, and
I mean,
also
the 95 to
yeah.
99 is the most difficult part in the whole process.
Yeah, it's not so hard. I think the most hard is from 0 to 1 or the maybe a
Okay,
new
yeah, but
structure of the yeah. But for us, it's complicated and it's annoying. It's actually annoying.
mhm,
And also, yeah, just like that, these advertisement, it's actually generated by us. So I think someone think that even most of the maybe some of the brands, some of the maybe normal person, a lot of people will think AI generated content is low quality, is unstable, maybe is not familiar or not suitable to publish. But actually, what we are doing is to publish, and because the brand they don't want their customers to know they are using AI or they are using AI to generate content or generate advertisement. So we have to keep low key. Yeah.
got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
amazing
what
to
we are
see
doing,
this
and
work.
also some small videos. We can have a little look. Don't take some time. We train our. Actually, we just fine tune a model based on the open source model. With the open source plan, and we use a lot of high quality data to post train and to fine tune our own video model. As for our video model, we concern mostly about the consistency of the product and the stability of the video. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I mean, it's amazing to see how you develop this marketing automation at this stage. I'm doing exactly the job before you pivot, the interior design automation. But I think the US market is slightly different. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I know Matrix is one of your investor, right?
Yeah, Matrix Design.
A quick question, let's not waste too much time on this. How are they like, how do you persuade them like you pivot into another direction?
Actually, first of all, they are doing this aspect of trying before we met each other. The
Okay.
second is I think the younger team, they are more sharp, and they have new perspective. And when we show our solution or proposal to their chairman, to their
To the
leader,
board?
he
Okay.
will see. Yeah, he will know. Wow, this is what I want, but this is what I want. Yeah, this is exactly what I want. But in my own team, no one can show something like this. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, definitely we can collaborate. I'm working on interior and a lot of furniture stuff need to be done, and you can be our, marketing expert on this. Thanks for sharing those strong foundation of your work. So in marketing, visual carry not only just aesthetics but also value. So what are the key challenges in automating that process without diluting brand personality or creativity? And I know you have like a big customers and individuals. So how to, create your platform remains fresh, brand specific, and emotionally resonant.
Yeah, that's a good question, and this is what we were thinking for the. We kept thinking for the last 2 years. Before and the AI or Stable Diffusion or something like Midjourney, it's tool. We call them tool. The tool, there is one big disadvantage is that it depends on who is using the tool. That depends on the person that the know-how, maybe the specifically maybe the prompt engineering. You got better prompt, you got better result. So I think that's not what that's not AI. What AI can do, like LLM. Actually, I think for LLM, actually I think LLM must write better prompt than human being. because it's
Agree.
what they are doing, yeah, what they were designed. So for this year, you can see, let me see. For this year, we changed our product into the LLM-driven Omni model agent, like generative and plus adaptive tool orchestration. You know, before we were tool, but now we don't think. For me and also in my team, we don't want to build another tool. And as for the guest before me, and I really agree. For the AI era, we don't need to build tools. We should build result. So who will use the tool? That should be and there must be LLM.
Yeah.
So for our product now, we just you can just ask the demand, or you can just show the what do you want, what you want. Maybe you want to sell this product or that product. You can you can just describe your need. So the LLM and for now we haven't post-trained LLM because that will cost a lot, and we don't have that big such a money, that amount of money. So we just build agent and pre-train, like the we just use pre-train model and build a workflow and agent to let LLM can advise or direct the generative part. Like the maybe we use our A-C and we use our A-C, and we are looking at the maybe GPT-4o. So we are considering to use GPT-4o and maybe other tools to let LM to use their tools to deliver high quality results. So the video and the picture you see before, now we can use or hire someone with actually no expert or experience in this area to generate that such of high quality pictures and videos. I think that's
Exactly.
the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, echo the quote from GitHub CEO that the future of programming is like a natural language, is like accessible for everyone. And also sort of building on your argument of the result, so to speak. I'm right now in Silicon Valley attending the SaaStr conference this year. The most one important takeaway this year is like a result as a service versus this, the software as service. So if the software is not like embracing the AI trend and the sort of be more personalization and more customization to their customer, they're gonna die. You know, this model has been popular in the last 10 years and drives the most, growth for big company, but it's not working right now. So it's really, striking to think about the future. So one last question, what emerging trends in creative automation are you most excited about? And how do you see tools like yours evolving to meet that demand?
Yeah, I think it's the most exciting trend maybe is what you are talking about and what everyone maybe in the valley is talking about now. For we're gonna build, or we're gonna have another kind of business model is called result as service, instead of maybe software instead of instead of service itself. But I think it takes some time because when it comes to the customer for now, it trusts people much more, especially in China. I don't know how it works in America, maybe better. So for now, they trust people more. So now I think for the next maybe 3 years, there's gonna be someone say things for AI, and there is gonna be a new, and we are doing actually the new loop, human in the loop, and also AI in the loop, and also and maybe for now it's a human 70% and AI 30%. But this is a whole solution. This is a whole group. We have to deliver this kind of whole solution, the complete solution to the customer, instead of just give them a tool or an account to let them use. I don't think that will work. And maybe in the 2 year, maybe in 2 years, they're going to be 1% of human and 99% of AI or AI agent. Yeah. Then I think they're going to be that will happen in 2 years. And if we want to let that happen in 2 years, we have to deliver the result loop, the whole solution to our customers for now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank
Lee.
you.
You've helped us see the AI can accelerate
Thank you.
marketing,
You're
not
welcome.
just through speed, but through meaningful design. Thanks again. All right, so
Yeah, you're welcome. Mhm.
Yep. All right, so we've covered a lot of exciting ground so far, from storytelling and immersive design to technical innovation and marketing. Before we wrap up, I'd love to share a bit more about what we are building at EdenSign. Jill, feel free to share the screen. At EdenSign, we provide the virtual staging service for real estate professionals. Our platform instantly transforms photos of empty spaces into beautifully staged interiors within seconds. We also offer a decluttering feature which lets user upload photos of decluttered cluttered rooms to receive clean, polished version in just like 10 seconds. We've already attracted hundreds of paying users and recently secured funding from leading investors, giving us the resources and the momentum to build ambitious cutting-edge tools at the intersection of AI and spatial design. And our long-term vision is to democratize spatial design, making it more affordable, accessible, and intuitive for everyone. Whether you are a homeowner, renter, or design professional, so stay tuned. Our next version is coming very soon. Feel free to check out our website at edensign.io, where you can try the product for free. We are also actively hiring. So if you or someone you know has experience in computer vision, diffusion models, image generation, inpainting, segmentation, or 2D to 3D reconstruction, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to connect. We can build some cool stuff together. Thank you. All right, now let's take a step back and reflect together. I'd like to welcome all of our panelists back. This upcoming roundtable is a chance to explore the shared responsibility we carry as designers, developers, and leaders shaping the future of this field. Let's start with the challenge we all face. What are some of the most pressing ethical concerns you've encountered when working with AI-generated content, whether it's data bias, hallucinations, misuse, or something else? And how do we build more trustworthy systems together? Maybe Brock can start.
Yeah, thank you, George. And also wonderful talks today.
Thank you.
Really be a pleasure to be here with you all. I would say consistency and reliability. In doing medical, scientific, especially billing records and diagnosis. I think having consistency, especially when using multimodal and having the match, and being able to show over time that we can identify the same patterns consistently with reliability and validity. And I think that's one of the greatest challenges is having that consistency, or as in scientific talk, reliability.
Thank you. Maybe Will, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks again, everyone, for your talks. It was amazing and very inspiring. Going back to your question, I think a very important part of it has to be, I mentioned this in my talk, and it's just having a standardized way of training models per culture or organization or delegation, and whether that's through a protocol or just having standardized ways of digitizing language or culture it's very important. So that's something that we're currently working on, but I'm sure there's other people working on it too. So that's a very important way of preventing unethical or cultural appropriation or misrepresentation in general. So I'm a big advocate on that myself.
Awesome. What about Jiajian in multimedia on the ethical concerns?
Yeah, I think the copyright issue is what mostly concerned, and especially when people are using AI tools like image generation, video generations, the owners of the original data, like those artists, those original owners, they do not have any benefits. They do not
Yeah.
have any income from these big companies. So I know right now I'm also talking to some of the friends who are looking to new business models, which can build a more sustainable way using either like Web3 technology or all kinds of
Blockchain.
technology, yeah, blockchain to help the artists who originally own the data, which
Hmm.
can continuously earn like income from those generation models. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this kind of new business model which benefits the owners of the original data, I
Hmm.
think is what I'm really interested in.
Hmm. Yeah, sort of echo on your point. My speculation of, the future copyright is like each artist will have an avatar which they can train their own model and produce the way they produce personally, but it's in a more efficient way. But the avatar's copyright either owned by the platform or by themselves, or there's a percentage to be split. So I think that's something the artists need to fight for, because right now the top-down way of management is like all the platform are gonna say, okay, this is belong to Tencent, to Adobe, but the in a more decentralized way, like a Web3 or blockchain can be a big help on this. So maybe Ran can maybe make some follow-up argument on this.
Yeah, I think I would explain this maybe in three aspects. So the first one would be the technical part of it, because recently actually we got a lot of open source general, maybe the large models, the generative models. For example, for video generation, we got for video we got one, and also open source. So in general, these models are trained on public data. So normally there's no copyright issues for these things. So what I'm thinking, and probably we wanna explore is maybe every time when we deal with maybe copyright data, we try to tune the foundation model like this open source foundation model
Mhm.
as a start point. And when we verify the copyright of additional data, and we turn this into kind of copyright large model or something. So here from this point, we can deal with the copyright maybe ethically. Yeah, so this would be the technical part. I think in general, this is kind of accessible, and maybe in the near future, we can have a version of such kind of model. And the second part would be the business part. For example, we just like what I mentioned before, I want to learn maybe cinematography from the blockbusters. But the thing is, for us, we don't have the copyright or the accessibility of maybe the Disney movies, so we cannot use their data as training data. So we have to use the data on maybe on a Tencent video platform for training. And even for this, the internal audition is a very long process. So in general, we still start from the public data. So I think from the business model part, we need to kind of have kind of a negotiation or have an agreement with a real benefit source, right? So if we are using Tencent video data, we have exchange with some further benefits also. Yeah, so I think this is we should put it in account, and we need to care about this and from the business part. And I think the last one is yeah, from technical part, from the business part, I think from the audience, we still need to be aware that everything you see, the generated media you see online, probably it has some initial or original copyright somewhere, right? So if at one day no one really care about this, or no one really know what's the ethics of the generated media come from, I think at that moment there's no copyright at all, right? So I
Yeah.
think we need to remind everyone, including us, to to focus on it and to see and to kind of up level our concentrate on copyright and also on aesthetics to tell what is a good quality media, right? Yeah, that's another aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me the Adobe is pushing or advocating there's a policy called C2PA, which they sort of trace the original workflow of each photos. If you did some Photoshop, if you did some editing somewhere, the code inside each pixel, so you cannot recognize from your eye, but it's actually the trace is there. So that's something a lot of big clients from U.S. government and the press is required at this moment. But I didn't see that trend in for like a general customer. But I do think that's one solution for solving this copyright issues. So yeah, maybe Leo, you can elaborate more on this.
Yeah, and thank you for the guests before. I think they have a total discussion and they have a fully discussed about all the challenges, and I quite agree. And maybe I will mention one part is maybe as a startup. I think for now there are a lot of people, in the whole world, they are doing startup things in the AI area or generative AI area. And I think one of the challenges, maybe some of us and some of maybe most of the founders, we are doing some meaningless thing, like GPT-4o. When GPT-4o was published, maybe the whole comfy or stable diffusion things becomes meaningless. So maybe I think that's one challenge. That's a challenge to our startup and also to the whole AI area, because we may waste a lot of fundings, a lot of money, or a lot of time to do meaningless things. So I think to get a correct or longer or sustainable position of our product, that may be one of the challenge, that we use money in the correct area. I think that maybe is one of another challenge. Yeah.
Cool. Well said. We've talked a lot tonight about inclusion, creativity, and authorship, and copyright. So the second question is, what are some strategies or frameworks you use to recognize and reduce bias in your design system and data inputs? Maybe we can start another round with Brock.
Can you restate the question, George?
Yeah, sure. What are some strategies or frameworks you use to recognize and reduce bias in your design systems or data inputs?
Well, like in research, what we're looking for are representative samples. And when we're thinking about fine tuning and when we're creating rubrics, one of the things that we want to do is be explicit in being inclusive. So when we're looking at bias, where are we drawing our data from? What type of language are we utilizing? What type of images are we bringing forth? And so just in the healthcare field, there have been many, many years in female health where women have been underserved because the traditional medical model was constructed based upon 22 to 56-year-old white men who worked in a job because they were available, they had insurance, and that was the majority of the diagnosis as well as the medical intervention. Women are very different from men in many ways. To utilize this medical example, it's difficult to generalize a medical diagnosis that is drawn from a different gender, perhaps a different age, and even a different cultural orientation towards somebody unspecifically. So when we look at bias, what we really have to do is, are we being inclusive? Are we actually looking at the populations that we're trying to serve? And what type of values are we bringing forward? Are we inspiring people? Are we aspiring to do our best and to help? And I think with that mindset, we begin to address some of these biases, especially when we begin to think about a model of how do we become humane?
Mm-hmm.
What is it to be human? And what is it to become your best self with others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very informative. Maybe Will, you can share some insights on this?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, one of the most important for us, I mentioned this earlier, was it's the stage at which we leverage AI in our process is really important. So making sure that we do enough of the critical thinking ourselves and not handing that off to AI is a very important way of preventing biases.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the model itself is we don't just stick to one. For example, we don't just use ChatGPT, but we try to use something like Olama or some sort of sandbox of different LLMs that gives us the best result for what we're trying to do. But at the same time, ways of testing out best practices, we do have a bank of prompts that whenever we get access or early access to a model, we make sure that we go through to see what results we get for those.
Mm-hmm.
Just general practices to, for example, make sure that we're not getting results that could be, for lack of a better term, poison with some sort of biases when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
representation and things like that I mentioned earlier. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think like the biggest part for us is in retaining as much creative agency as possible and just making people aware that that's an important difference. And yeah, just human-centered design practices in general, I'd say.
Cool. What about Jiajian?
Yeah, so like human society has bias, so yeah, there's no doubt AI will have bias too because they are representing us like with all the data. And so for us, when we create, we do find this kind of bias happens a lot when you work directly with AI. And so we use prompt engineering. So first, you like what Will mentioned, you have to know what you want to do, and you cannot rely totally on AI. And so prompt engineering and fine tuning and LoRa, for example, the the project I just showed for the ink embodied ink. So we trained our specifically, we picked specifically the data of Chinese calligraphy, and so we need to curate the data set ourselves and to achieve the visual effects we want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've learned that sometimes, the issue isn't in the model, but in how we ask it to perform. So the prompt engineering is so important. So in a way that leads to inclusive, consistent, and high quality results. So how to do that? Maybe, Ryan, you can give us some insights.
Yeah, I think I would talk from maybe the more technical point
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah,
view.
sure.
So basically, we have tried a few things regarding kind of alignment. Maybe not exactly the bias that you mean, but it's very similar topic. So the thing is, when you have when you tune maybe another model from the foundation model, actually there's already kind of bias in the foundation model.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be first we should be aware of this. But I think in practice maybe 90% of us are not aware of this, right? And yeah, so this is the first thing. And then when we know there is bias already in the foundation model, we need to find the correct or more suitable data to tune the original model and to get rid of the kind of
Mm-hmm.
the bias.
Yeah.
So here, so what we try actually, there's a few hints. So the first one is if you know certain kind of bias already exists, you can try to augment the data maybe around this point. For example, if you, in your original data, maybe most of the data are men, then maybe you add more women in the fine-tune data.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is you can try to add more noise into the training data. So this strategy is used for kind of to enhance the generalization even for performance or for the general generation for the foundation model. And these things, if you are aware of certain bias, you can try to add noise around maybe these points. And in this way, you don't really need to kind of collect maybe much more specific data to tackle the bias, and it somehow gets the generalized version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in general, this is still a kind of try and error and very, very practical process. So you need to do more with data engineering, and we are also still learning that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so maybe Leo, you can share some patterns or pitfalls we should watch for at based on your experience at PhotoG.
Yeah, bias actually it's a difficult question, and actually we are not doing the foundation model or fundamental model things. So what we can do, what we are doing now is before the delivery or before the maybe one post or the picture or video, before it was published, it's going to publish. We're gonna let people, or we have copyright model, and also we haven't trained a bias model, but in the future I think we will, and to let the one AI model in the last way or in the last of the SOP maybe gonna check or double check. I think that's what we are doing, and what we can do now. I think yeah.
Agree. I mean, thank you all for diving into these important issues. This is how we grow the field responsibly. As we begin to wrap up this incredible discussion, I'd love for each of you to look ahead. What is one emerging trend in generative AI that you believe will significantly shape the creative industries in the next 2 years, to just 2 years? Whether it's technical, regulatory, cultural, or experiential, what's coming next? Brock, what's your
Very good.
speculation list?
So maybe we go away from asynchronous AI and we have synchronous AI with others, much more distributed intelligence. I think that's really an exciting part.
How about Will?
I think for me is the agentic part and multimodal part of artificial intelligence at the moment, and most importantly is how we're currently interacting with it. Yeah, there's definitely like, I think image gen is a really good example of that. A lot of the tools that we're currently using are not just image generation, but they can reason through a lot of problems and have a certain level of consistency across the board. So I am very excited about what that translates to when it's about like 3D workflows and 3D animation and VFX, when you need a certain level of consistency across the board for characters and so on. So having an agentic approach to visual storytelling and like as a communications tool, I think is where my money is at the moment.
Cool. Jiajie?
So I think the next 2 years, there's going to be an explosion of content on all kinds of platforms: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and a lot more and more of them will be AI generated, like what Leo mentioned. Sometimes you think it's a real person, but actually it's not. So this creates both the benefits that everyone, for example, right now everyone can use their iPhone to take pictures and post on Instagram, or take videos, post on TikTok. Everyone can be a photographer or filmmaker. And the next phase, everyone can become an AI creator. But the problems, there will be more and more fake image, fake news. So how can we differentiate those, the real and the fake, and how this explosion of contents will influence our society? I think this is a big question we need to face. Yeah.
Thanks. Maybe Ran, you can give us a more technical perspective on the progress in the next 2 years.
Yeah, so let's first maybe look back into the recent years. So in 2021, actually we got GPT, right? So at that time, AI kind of learned to read and write. And then in 2023, I remember we got Sora. So yeah, even though we got only demo of Sora, but we know that AI can see and can understand the visual things and even generate them. And this year we see OpenAI O1, we see DeepSeek R1. So it kind of marks that AI can think. So I think in the in later of this year and maybe in the future, 1 or 2 year. So I think most of us, I mean, in the tech community, thought the thing is the AI will know how to act. For example, when we think about embedded AI, we think about agentic AI. It's all about how AI act in real world. So these things, I think it's kind of definite way that the current large model will go. Yeah, but what I was thinking is one thing is for the modality, it have to extend to 3D because our real life is 3D. And another thing is for agentic AI, I think because we already see that in O1 and DeepSeek R1, when you do reinforcement learning with specific data, the ability of the large model grows exponentially. So I think for agentic AI, we still need to think about how each specific usage or each specific area do we collect more better data to do their own reinforcement learning. Yeah, so I think this would be the 2 points I want to mention.
Nice, well said. Yeah, so Leo, maybe you can, from like a founder perspective or entrepreneurship way, what's your speculation in next 2 years?
Yeah, and I also want to look back into 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago, I firstly started my first company and doing some AI things, application things. In that time, 2023, the same maybe I think it's exactly this month 2 years ago. Uh, I led my team and also myself to become the best prompt engineering at that time, and also maybe the best labeler, the one that label data. And after 2 years, the last 2 years, we make our knowledge, our know-how, how to label and how to write prompt, how to prompt into a product or into a workflow, into an agent. So what we are doing, and I think what we're gonna see in the next 2 years is we are trying to make the traditional know-how and traditional knowledge, like how a traditional advertisement company or agency, how they work, and let change their knowledge or their know-how and their data into the next agentic AI, like PhotoG maybe for one expect. And I think that's what we're gonna see in the next 2 years, first of all. And the other part is, I think, also the content. As for what I see in Shenzhen, maybe I have already seen a lot of advertisement that shows in the airport, in the elevator, in the bus stop, in our real life, not only in the red book or red notebook or Instagram, but also in the real life. I can see AI generated content like pictures and mainly the pictures. You can see them everywhere for now. So in the next 2 years, you're gonna see. I think everyone gonna feel the AI generative content gonna. You can see them everywhere. And also, I have already seen some fake news, some fake articles has already influenced how maybe are already influenced my even my investors. So there are going to be a lot of fake news or AI generative content in the next 2 years. Maybe I think it's 80 or 90% content going to be AI generated. So I think it's kind of dangerous maybe, or I don't know. But for us, we will generate high quality content continuously. Yeah.
Thanks, Leo. Thanks all. Your vision are inspiring. So now we have a few minutes for audience questions. If you've submitted something in the chat or come up with some new questions, this is the chance to engage directly with our speakers. Let's take about 2 quick questions. So feel free to direct them to a specific panelist, or I can assign as needed. All right, let's see.
I think we already have several questions in the chat box.
Okay, let's see. I'm curious, what challenges have you faced in confronting and reconciling bias both within models and among users? And how do you raise awareness and promote inclusion-driven collaboration in communities that may not yet see this is a priority? Do you have a specific guest you want to ask? It's from Xing. Yeah, it's for Will. So maybe Will, you can start.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Let me speak again. So what challenges have you faced in confronting and reconciling bias both within models and among users? And how do you raise awareness and promote inclusion-driven collaborations in communities that may not yet see this is as a priority?
Yeah, so it's a really good question because Manuel and I are very much at the forefront of a lot of the models when they come out. Like we get to alpha test them months, if not years, before they come out. So we give direct feedback to developer teams. So I encourage people who are in that position to utilize their voice and obviously voice that directly to the team working on that product. So again, just being vocal, and it's always a balance because you can easily fall into this pitfall of like, you want to sound agreeable as a tester and not bring up things that are uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, that's the real point of testing, that you're accounting for certain scenarios that might create other problems down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one area. The other one, again, is Manu, for example, and myself have done different talks where, for example, his TED Talk on AI was the first one in his country around the subject. So a lot of pushback from people ended up being received well, because we're approaching it from a place of educating, not necessarily imposing. So I think that the approach through which you frame this problem can make a big difference in presenting it. We use Protopika as we call it a Trojan horse, because at the forefront you see beautiful visuals, great branding, and all this stuff. But at the end of it, it's educational, and it's about telling people the potential implications of generative AI and these tools if it's not regulated, and if it's used in certain ways that could only benefit, certain communities, certain cultures, and certain things. So really, I'm not a fan of fear mongering. It doesn't end well for anyone. Fear mongering and using fear as a tool to like get people to act the way that you're hoping that. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to like creating, hypothesizing what you think might be the best way of going about it. Having that conversation is a great place to start. I think that's part of the question as well. Like, how can we do it? It's speculative design. I'm a big fan of speculative design and discursive design. It's really about creating projects and working on things that get people to talk about it, that really pushes the conversation in different communities. So yeah, I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you. Hope that answered your question. So the next question is for Ran. Given the uncompromising quality standards in film, how does your team evaluate whether an AI-generated visual is ready for production? Are there any specific technical or artistic benchmark it must meet? I will also cue Jiajin on this because you also have some experience in film. So maybe you two can share some insights on this.
Yeah, so actually I personally face this kind of problem very often.
Very often?
Because because maybe we develop a new version of the model, and we need to make sure if this is kind of production ready, can we deliver to the real studio team. So so I think the final answer really comes from the artist and the production team. So most of the time we just show a few results to the artist. They can point out where is good, where is bad in just a glance. So for example, we developed the lighting generation framework, and we tried a few examples, ask the artist, and they can instantly tell me where is too bright, where we need more contrast. So yeah, but the problem is if you just rely on this kind kind of feedback is very sparse because even you have maybe 1,000 of results showing to them, they just pick maybe one image saying, hey, here is bad, right? So we cannot really upgrade or evolve based on this sparse feedback. So what we are doing in our team is kind of split the feedback into the objective metric and the subjective metrics. For the objective metric, we usually ask the artist or ask our PM team to collect a kind of reference data set. Like the artist will say this kind of image, this kind of illumination, lighting condition looks good. So he can collect maybe 1,000 of images saying these are good data. So when we generate new results, we can somehow evaluate the distribution of our generated data and the reference data. So we can have kind of objective metric for this. So this would be the first step. And the second step is we still have these subjective scores. We generate some results, ask the artist to give a score, but instead of asking him to point out where it's bad, we actually design a kind of questionnaire or something that to let them evaluate this result in different aspects. For example, in 10 different aspects. So we get maybe 10. We have 10 dimensional data. So later we can use this data to kind of further tune our model. But currently this way works for some kind of small scale products. But I think if you want to try to scale up this to maybe large models, you need kind of RLHF or even the IR learning. So yeah, that will be a very big problem. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Jiajian, maybe you can elaborate more on this.
Yeah, thank you, Ran, for sharing the technical part. So for us, there are several ways to on this question. So first, we can right now try to create something that AI is better at. For example, animation. I think animation is more like easier to create than realistic style of filmmaking because the realistic performance of the actors is really hard to achieve. And like what I mentioned before, like the facial expression control, the motion control is very hard, but animation is comparatively easier because you do not have a realistic person and you do not have such real, because as a human, you can tell immediately whether it's a fake person human or it's a real human. But for some kind of stylistic, uh, like animation or motion graphic, it's easier for AI to achieve. And on the other hand, sometimes we will specifically, like we mentioned, will specifically use the flaws of AI. For example, the blinkering effect when first artists use stable diffusions to do frame by frame style transfer. So sometimes you specifically use the AI style to create kind of art film, not like blockbusters, not like commercial films, but sometimes we'll create art films for experimental. Yeah,
Okay,
that's what we are
cool. I
experimenting
mean,
right now.
experimental is important, especially in the film area. A lot of famous director they're started with some experimental and then go to commercial altogether. So well said. Let's move on to our maybe last question. So I saw a very interesting question from Molly. This is question for Brock. As a student, I often turn to tools like ChatGPT while learning. In theory, AI should help us think better, but in practice, it sometimes replaces the thinking altogether. So how do we prevent AI from short-circuiting the very process it's meant to support? Could our increasing reliance risk weakening our capacity for original ideation, especially at early learning stages?
Well, I think that along with curiosity comes a healthy skepticism. And do you believe everything that people tell you? Well, you shouldn't believe that everything that GPT tells you. And your skills in asking questions and evaluating the data those are the things that are going to make you successful with GPT or any type of uh, automated system. So I would also say, since you're a student and most likely a job seeker at some point, you're not going to be replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by people who know how to use it. So I would say begin to learn to use your skepticism, your curiosity, and your training, because there is always going to be an expert in the loop.
Thank you. This brings our session to a close, actually. So I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our panelists, Brock, Will, Jiajian, Ran, and Kun, for sharing your insights, experiences, and vision. Over the course of the 2.5 hours almost, we've explored how generative AI is transforming the creative landscape across design, art, marketing, immersive storytelling, and 3D content creation. A lot of hot topics, from Brock's reflection on human-centered system and curiosity-driven design, and to Will's exploration of cultural storytelling in immersive media, to Jiajian's interdisciplinary approach combining AI with multimedia. We've seen how deeply this technology can intertwine with creativity. And Ran gave us a more technical standpoint, behind the scene look at the generative 3D pipelines and the challenges of authorship and scalability. While Leo shared how AI can supercharge branded content and product market fit in the world of marketing automation. So altogether, we've reflected on the ethical responsibility we share around buyers, ownership, collaboration, and the values that guide our work, and looked ahead at the trends and opportunities shaping the next generation of creative tools. Again, at EdenSun, we are excited to keep building tools that empower curiosity, inclusivity, and creativity. And we look forward to connecting with many of you in the future. Feel free to reach out to me via WeChat in the group. And thank you to our audience for your thoughtful engagement. I hope you leave tonight not only with inspiration, but with practical ideas for how to create, collaborate, and lead in this generative age. And once again, heartfelt thanks to New York Design Week, and give a shout to VS Design for organizing and supporting this incredible event. Thank you again. Stay curious and have a good night.